name's Aiden Davis. I recently had the chance to sit down with John Brodeur from Bird Streets.
Hi, this is John Brodeur, aka Bird Streets.
John is a New York-based musician with a very singular voice. He uses elements of contemporary pop and rock to create a very robust and a very interesting sound.
It's the apple on the tree. They told you wasn't fit to me.
His newest single, On the Promenade, is a discussion about his own personal relationship with the city of New York. He describes it as
A love letter to New York City.
back in 2021, Grunge Musical started recording its musical podcast. It is the entire musical of Grunge recorded and mastered in a podcast form. John Brodeur came on very early in that process. He recorded the song Outside the Market. It was a privilege to sit down with John. We spoke about a variety of topics, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. This is the 72nd Street Interviews.
Bird Streets.
Yeah.
Is that a stage name? Is that a band?
It's sort of both.
Sure.
Yeah, Bird Streets started as a band because I had been performing as a solo artist for a long time, and I was just like, I want to do something that feels more like a band, and I started it as a band. And then I made a record in Los Angeles, and it just felt like, okay, this music is that. It's all the same. It's all me. So like, I just decided I was going to make that my sort of stage name. The band is pretty fluid. It's different people on different gigs a lot of times. Also, the way I always say it is, I would wear a Bird Streets shirt, but I wouldn't necessarily wear a John Brodeur shirt. You know what I mean? Like, for me, like.
Right. Interesting. You're a songwriter yourself.
Yeah.
How is that experience singing someone else's song?
It's unusual.
Yeah.
I mean, I've covered a bajillion songs. I'm a songwriter, so I love songs, obviously, and I've performed and recorded many songs by other people, but never something like this where it was like I have to kind of embody the writer in a way,
There's John Brodeur.
which, yeah, that was a very unique experience, and kind of just like learning the song from absolute scratch, you know.
There
Sorry,
were
my
a couple
camera
Johns.
wasn't.
John Brodeur is playing Boomer.
It was an interesting task to kind of dig in and really like feel the character and feel the writer and like, okay, I see what he's doing here.
Boom.
I'm not going to say I don't like musicals. I don't like a lot of them. If they're like extra campy, I can get into them. Yeah, usually if I go to Broadway, I went to Broadway last night and we saw a play. We didn't see it. Grunge, but like I said, was it's a music that in a lot of ways formed a lot of how I am as an artist. You know, there's a lot of possibility in that era. You know, the whole idea like we're going to be in a band and get signed, and that was a beautiful time to be a musician. I felt a lot of kinship with the material and with the story. I'm excited to see where it lands. Yes, I'm a SAG-AFTRA member for 10 years. I mostly do background work. That's kind of, in New York, there's a million things filming, all the cop shows and all the different things. A lot of movies, every movie comes through New York. It's just been kind of good, regular union work. I don't know if I'm like trying to get into acting. I would do it. Like I would love to have just a couple lines here and there. Yeah.
How did that come to you?
I am scratching my brain to try to remember. I think I have a friend who sends me things from time to time, and I think she forwarded it to me. And I was like, yeah, it's voice work. I can do it from my closet. So yeah, it just kind of went from there. Yeah, referral.
Came at sort of interesting time with the pandemic.
I mean, I would call it a convenient time.
Yeah,
because, there wasn't a whole lot going on in my world. So it was just like, this is work and I can do it from home and take my mask off.
Totally.
Yeah, it's funny because the pandemic, it was kind of a roller coaster. Living here was really strange. Everything just stopped. And you know how New York is. It's, it's always going. Everybody's got masks on and we're all crossing the street to get away from the other people and there's nobody walking and the whole thing. It was bizarre. So there was like a good 5 or 6 months at the beginning of the pandemic where I didn't do much of anything. And then, and then the industry started up, the SAG work started back up. It was actually really easy to get work for a little while there, at the end of 2020 and 2021, because like a lot of the people had left. So like the people that would show up, we got called a lot, I was doing a lot of that stuff. And also started 2 records during that time. Finished Lagoon during that time.
It's lying in wait for the signal to sound.
The first time I was able to get on a plane, I was like, let's start an album. So, went to LA and started working on another record that's coming out this year.
Do you have any personal relationship with grunge music?
I mean, I'm a, yeah. I was 16 years old when Nevermind came out, you know what I mean? Seen Pearl Jam play a dozen times and Soundgarden and all those bands. Like, that's the stuff that I really cut my teeth on. Probably started my first trio as a singer and band leader because of Kurt Cobain. So yeah, it runs pretty deep for me. I should have listened to the song. I haven't heard it in a while.
'Cause he can't go back inside.
I thought it was really good, and I thought it was like really nailed that era. And finding out, I think I found out maybe later that these songs were actually from that time. But I was just like, this sounds genuinely like something I would hear, Chris Cornell or somebody like that sing at the times. Kind of how I approached it too. It was just like, all right, I can like dig into this and like kind of be the grunge lead singer I always wanted to be. I mean, I grew up, I think I always knew I wanted to do something with music. I think I figured out, in my early teens, like I want to make it, just from loving music growing up. I was sick as a little kid, so I just spent a lot of time like listening to records and, my parents' Beatles records and all that stuff and kind of, and all the songs, again, a lot of the 70s songwriter guys and all that stuff. Grunge was just good timing. But I was also into Elvis Costello and They Might Be Giants and all these other things that had nothing to do with grunge at the time, I was just kind of, melted it all together. Yeah, I mean, Radiohead's kind of one of my favorite bands. I don't know that necessarily comes through in what I do, but sometimes I think it pops up. Elliott Smith is a big one for me. He was one of those, like, when I heard his records, I was like, that's the thing I want to do. I had a lot of influence on what I do. I mean, there's so many. I could just sit here for a day. Weezer, the first album, Blue Album, Fiona Apple, Amy Mann. I'm an album guy. Let's just say that. I'm an album guy. I like the industry's very much like you have to kind of keep stuff coming. And, I've gotten my head around the idea of releasing singles and things in between. But I very much have been, since day one for 25 years now, focused on like making albums. That's how I grew up with music. I want to hear a body of work. Again, singles are cool once in a while. You have something that doesn't fit on an album or, just want to get something out to say something in the moment. I mean, I just put one out last month and it was very much those reasons. Like I felt like I wanted to just do something, but I'm also like, I got 2 records I'm finishing right now that I'm like, that's what we're aiming toward. Not really. I mean, certainly not with my band. When I'm playing with the band, because it's hired people, we're usually playing the repertoire. I'll throw things into my solo sets sometimes, but I generally don't perform songs of my own unless I feel like they're ready. I'm not really like into showing the process live. I want just like to present the thing. I definitely did that a lot coming up, in the 90s, playing open mics and stuff. That's how you would try stuff out. But these days I just feel like I know what I'm doing. So like if it's time, then it's time, and it goes into the repertoire. In New York, yeah, and in LA, I tend to, LA, I tend to play Hotel Cafe a lot. Yeah, New York, Mercury Lounge or clubs of that nature. Used to play the Rockwood a lot before it closed. There definitely have been. The Rockwood Music Hall was definitely like a scene for a while. Places like the Mercury Lounge, not so much because it's like more of a ticketed concert venue, but those other places that it's like more donation based or more like kind of come and go. Yeah, you see that a little bit. I definitely found people in those places. Yeah. I would love to say. I mean, I'm a career musician. I've been writing songs and putting out records for 25 years, and I'm not going to stop. But I see why people do. Streaming's tough. Here's the collateral damage. Spotify is the worst thing to happen to music. Basically, like free at your fingertips, anything you want for $9 or $10 a month. It's unsustainable, and they've never done anything to really make it about artists. It ain't easy. Yeah. I might have pursued some different avenues. I mean, my first record came out when Napster was first a thing. So this discussion was already kind of happening. It's really weird to look back and be like, Lars Ulrich was right. but it's kind of true. I'm stubborn. I probably would have just kept doing the same thing. How much of it is how it's received? Well, you try to put out something that you think has value and will stand the test of time. As a writer and performer, I'm not thinking about what's happening right now. I make stuff that's not that far removed from the music I was making, 25 years ago, and just building a body of work that makes sense together. And, it is just like slowly growing the thing over time. I'm not really thinking that way when I'm making the music, when I'm releasing it. I'm just like, this is what I made, this is what I want to say right now. And, and then it's out of my hands how people receive it, I think, Funny, because I recorded that song 5 years ago. That we made that right before the panty started. I sat on it for a long time because it was actually mixed, mastered years ago, and I was just like, I don't know how this fits. It was one of those things, like, I don't know how this goes with everything else I'm doing. Because I never really written that kind of topical song, and it's also like musically, characteristically, kind of a lot different from other things I do.
Going out on the town, you can sleep when the moon goes down.
I don't know that my other music has that influence. I don't know that I would be writing different music if I were elsewhere exactly, because so much of it is just about feelings. I feel like would be happening almost anywhere. My wife and I go back and forth to LA. She's got family there, so we spend a fair amount of time there. Made a couple records there. Love Los Angeles. It's the thing. I joke about it in that song. It's like kind of the punchline of the song. Hey, we're moving to LA next year, and we always go there, and it's nice for about a week, and then I'm like, I gotta get home. I gotta get back. Like, I love this city so much. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else. There's nothing better than New York. Best city. Because every time you get off the plane at LaGuardia or JFK and you cross the tarmac, you're like, oh yeah, right. It's just like an energy. I mean, it's all storytelling, at least the kind of music I make. We're just trying to paint a picture for people. So, like, it feels kind of like a natural thing to move back and forth between writing songs and writing literature and such. I know a lot of people that do it, write books, or they, move into Broadway or something like that. It feels pretty natural to do that. Like, moving into acting is less natural to me. I'm a song first person. So, yeah. Sometimes it's everything at once. I actually have a song I wrote 25 years ago. One of the 4 or 5 best songs I think I've ever written. And I wrote that thing in 25. Top to bottom, bang, bang, this is the song. And it's so interesting and so unique and had such a range. And I felt like I was influenced at the moment by Elvis Costello and Jeff Buckley. And I wrote this thing and I was like, that sounds like those things. And people always respond to it. That's why I keep playing it. No idea how I did that. I just put my hand on the guitar and I was like, that chord sounds cool. It was just like a weird voicing. Sometimes that happens where it's just like, there it is, and it just kind of comes to you. Sometimes it's work. I have some songs like record I'm just finishing. I have a couple of things on there that are like pieces of things from the 90s. So it's sometimes it's one thing and sometimes the other. I feel like most often a melody comes into my brain and I just hang some words on it and just start doing that until it finds its way. Kind of different every time. I don't have like a set process. I really admire writers like Nick Cave. I always mention Nick Cave has a regimen. He goes to the office and sits down at the typewriter every day. And mine is just very much just like, let's see what happens today. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for 30 something years, writing songs, and I still don't know how it works. And I think that's part. I mean, I took classes. I took music theory. I studied some music for a while, and I know how it works. But at the same time, when I write my own music, I tend to try to forget how it works and just be like, let's just see where it goes. That's more interesting to me because otherwise, I just end up stuck in the same patterns. I love not knowing. Yeah.
I was very grateful to get to sit down with John. Really a fantastic conversation all the way through. One of the major takeaways for me was when he listed some of his influences and his favorite musicians. It was interesting how quickly you could just see how these musicians had influenced him. Elliott Smith, Jeff Buckley, Radiohead, Weezer even. Immediately when he said that, I knew exactly what he was talking about with the influence in his own work. It was interesting to hear Elvis Costello was a big influence on him, and that's certainly something I'll be listening out for as I continue to listen to John's music. Make sure to check out John's work at Bird Streets and subscribe to the Grunge Musical YouTube channel so that you can follow along with the musical podcast as it comes out.